Hello troops, welcome back to the channel. It's Dan from Hades Airsoft. Today we're looking at game-changing gear. Now what that means for me personally is bits of kit and equipment that have changed the way I operate, whether it be back in the army or now obviously playing Airsoft and Milsim, make life a bit more comfortable, make me a better operator perhaps. Jumping straight in then with the first line belt. So the first line belt, or shooter's belt as it's sometimes known within the British military, is essentially an evolution of webbing that the British Army have been using for many years now, decades, which is essentially, rather than a stripped down belt as we can see here, it's a big load carrying system where you've got like a yoke, great big pouches around your waist where you've got food, water, ammunition, medical supplies, all that sort of stuff usually to survive for about 24 hours if you're cut off. Webbing has changed over the years quite a lot. It's still in use in the British Army, but the shooter's belt has really come to dominate the way people are using this kind of concept. And like I say, it's within the army and within the Airsoft and Milsim scene. You'll see people with some kind of belt on every time you go and play a game. My belt setup has not changed since I've been doing this channel actually. It's about 9 months now. So head back to my very first video and you can see me going into more detail on this. There's a few things I want to point out on here that are game changing for me. Apart from the belt system itself and the concept of a first line belt, very briefly, the concept of a first line belt for me is bullets and bandages. So we've got a pistol here. We'd have a grenade here as well. On this side, ammunition pouches from a primary replica. Sometimes I carry a pistol ammunition pouch here. Today I've got some Silums. And then we've got the bandages side of life, which is an individual first aid kit, an actual real life IFAK. There's no tourniquets or anything like that in here. This is just for bumps, bruises, scrapes that you might get into in the field playing airsoft. And one thing that is massively game changing for me is the dump pouch. Okay, so this is a bit of a 2-in-1, kicking off with a bit of a 2-in-1. The dump pouch, troops, is revolutionary to me. When you finish, where you've got an empty magazine, you quickly place it inside the dump pouch, okay, conduct your reload, and then when you've got time, in a lull in the battle, or if it's a game, after the game, at the end of the round, whatever, you then retrieve your magazines from here and you replenish them, you bomb them up. Okay, so when I first joined the army, the way we had to do it was we had to put metal magazines, in fact, like these metal magazines, down the front of your jacket while you're carrying on your attack or whatever, like smacking around, you know, banging into each other, and generally not having a very good time actually with these. So nowadays they just get dumped into the dump pouch, and then, as I say, you go and replenish them when you've got time. So that's a dump pouch. So actually for me, a massively game-changing bit of kit. Another little mention on before we leave the first line belt is probably Kydex. Kydex is used both within the military and within the Airsoft and Milsim scene, and essentially it's just a type of plastic. They can be used to make holsters, and the ones I'm using here are just inserts into these magazine pouches. And essentially what that means is the magazine can be placed in there and it kind of locks in under the pressure of that kind of springy plastic, and it stays in there fairly firmly. I mean, if you're hanging upside down out of a tree, it's probably going to fall out. But you know, it can take some steady punishment. And Kydex is actually, you know, becoming quite a versatile material for people to work with to make all sorts of stuff. So, troops, item number 1, first line belt with the dump pouch, with the Kydex. Let's move on. Right, troops, so next up, integrated knee pads. So knee pads that are integrated into the combat trouser. Okay, so these are from Cry Precision. These are kind of at the more expensive end of the market, but do not be fooled, troops. There are plenty of imitations out there. They are very good. I mean, I've had this particular set for probably 3 or 4 years now. So it's showing its age in a few places, but they go on forever with a few repairs here and there. Cry Precision, it is known to be pricey. It's pricey for a reason, but it is very good. You know, whether you want to use it for Airsoft or Milsim, there's a massive debate over that sort of stuff. But for me, if you like using it, do it. My personal recommendation is, if you're going to buy Cry Precision, use it as you would if it was a tenner out of the army surplus store. Get it dirty, get amongst it. Don't be afraid to get on your belt buckle, get on, you know, take a knee and play, you know, your games of Airsoft and Milsim in this, even if they do cost £200-300. But if you do want to get hold of some, Kit Pest, check those guys out. They often have Cry Precision in that's, like I say, new without tags. It's you know, it's brand new essentially, and you can find all sorts of stuff on there. So check those guys out. So essentially, it's a trouser with an integrated knee pad. There's not too much more I can say about that. It basically means that, you know, oh god, back in my day we used and still people still use them, obviously, just like a regular knee pad. This is my one from Afghan, which is why it's seen better days. And of course, you know, these sorts of knee pads will, you know, they'll ride up, they'll slip down, they'll fall off, they'll come undone. Whereas the integrated knee pad, essentially, it's in there, especially with Cry Precision, you've got these little like elastic toggles in here that you can use to raise and lower the knee pad to personal, you know, for your own personal preference, which I find is a game changer in of itself, because the earlier models of Cry Precision trousers didn't have that, and it meant you could have your knee pad somewhere like halfway down your shin, which is no fun for anybody. Drawbacks, especially with these newer ones. I mean, I do have some of the older ones. I think these are Gen 2 or 3. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if these are Gen 3 or 4. But anyway, these are the older ones. These are slightly thinner, slightly lighter. I probably would prefer these guys over these new ones. I think they look a little bit better as well. And these I've had for many years. These have been around the block. So there we go, troops. Integrated knee pads from Cry Precision. Let's get this over on the pile over there. I can see this pile here getting bigger and bigger as we progress. Right, so next up are these field belts. Now, you might be thinking, what is so special about a field belt? Now, it's not the case of it being special, but it's one of those real tiny details about how you carry your kit and equipment that can really make the difference between being comfortable and uncomfortable, or productive and perhaps less productive. So with the field belt, it just means that you've got a very low profile Velcro, in this case, belt that just helps keep your trousers up, okay? And crucially, it doesn't interfere with, let's say, the first line belt or webbing or any other kind of load carrying system that you might have on. Because the trouble is, as we start to add more of these layers, they start, you know, potentially digging into you, or you start to feel more uncomfortable. They could be rubbing, things like that, okay? So a real small detail that makes a big difference. Now, the evolution to these field belts are these. This actually comes with the first line belt from Warrior Assault Systems. And essentially, this goes around your waist like the other one does, but it's got Velcro on the outside. The first line belt has got Velcro on the inside and just gives a bit of a more secure fit. Personally, I tend to leave this on the first line belt and kind of use this side as a bit of padding. I prefer to use the other belt and then this staying on the first line belt. But I know lots and lots of people like to use this system. Okay, so field belts. The devil, troops, is in the details. Right, troops, moving on then to BLOC Tactical. So this model is called the Lynx. You get this semi-rigid case here, which can withstand quite a lot of punishment. You get a small soft case and 3 lenses, and then the main body of the EyePro itself, so that you can interchange those lenses as and when you need to. You get a clear one, which is great for obviously nighttime missions, night games, etc. This kind of orangey one, which is probably my personal favorite. And then just the normal sunglasses one, okay? Lots and lots of people now, both here in the Canaries, all over the world, are using BLOC, and it's for a very good reason. Absolutely zero fog, and just have a better time with your games, enjoying yourself more, and keeping yourself protected. BLOC Tactical, absolute game changers. HAD10 is my discount code. You get 10% off. Right, troops, next up are morale patches. Now, as you can see, I've got quite a big collection of morale patches behind me. I love patches. Here is a photo of me in Afghanistan with too many morale patches on one arm. Believe me, troops, less is more nowadays when it comes to morale patches. But they are a game changer, because back in the day, like when I first went to Afghanistan and stuff like that, they were fairly limited to like your nationality, blood type, allergies, maybe a unit patch if you were lucky. Whereas nowadays, it's a much broader concept. So we've still got these are still used, they're still important for actually displaying information. And if you look at the Americans, all of their insignia is Velcroed on. So their unit, their ranks, all that stuff as standard is Velcro. It's not necessarily a morale patch, but Velcro patches. And then we've got kind of a bit more hybrid these days, like with the rifles, cap badge on there for myself, back badge here from Stab Solutions, nice little detail for all the riflemen out there. Check those guys out. For myself, my own patch nowadays, like this for me was a big turning point within this kind of whatever this is that I'm doing, this Airsoft Milsim journey, this, you know, moving into YouTube and stuff like that, all that good stuff. This was a real point of pride for me because this it just feels very official. It almost feels very, you know, I've got my own logo, I've got my own patch. I would assume it's very much the same case for people like JBG because they've got quite a wide range of patches. So check those guys out. Obviously, check out their website. People like Hackle Media, okay, big mover and shaker now in the media world for the military and now also a little bit of Airsoft and Milsim. So he's got his own patch there. Again, I would imagine for him as well, it's a point of pride, his own logo on a patch. And then we've got things like people making their own designs for their own specific teams. So this is a team out in the Canaries, LPGC Dead. So good guys over at Team Dead. So, you know, they've gone and made their own patch. And again, point of pride. And then we've also got things like, you know, Operators Locker, check those guys out. And obviously BLOC Tactical, you know, a bit more of like a promotional tool as well, which it is for me as well. So the morale patch has gone from just pure information to a little bit of, let's say, regimental pride as well. And there's loads of funny ones. Like I've got some real funny ones back there, and that's where the kind of the morale aspect has come into it. So you know, people have tried to get a bit creative and be funny with them. I personally don't really like the funny ones that much, but I just think for myself, you know, my own patch, representing my regiment, representing the country, all that sort of good stuff. Morale patches, big game changer. So next up, the integrated night vision mount on the helmet. Okay, and also the counterweight pouch that goes on the back, as opposed to what we had back in the day. A lot of back in the days today, but that's just me showing my age. This is the helmet before the Mark 7, trusty Mark 7, which you would have to add on this night vision mount here that would come with the night vision device. Okay, it'd be issued with it. And these, okay, they look okay, but they're very prone to coming undone. We didn't really have, counterweights were a thing, but it wasn't as refined as it is now, okay? And these had a habit of coming off perhaps in less than ideal situations, or they'd come loose, as you can see here, like this bit's come loose now, even just doing this video. You might have to make some little modifications, all that sort of good stuff. So when well, it's not good stuff at all, is it? When the integrated ones came out, again, devil in the details. It's just a relatively small thing that makes a big difference. And the counterweight pouch, okay, so if you don't know what a counterweight pouch is for, you add little weights, little chunks of metal, little cubes of metal that go inside here, okay, and you basically, rather than tipping forward under the weight of your night vision device, it will keep you counterweighted and keep you steady rather than tipping forward with the night vision device on. So 2-in-1 on that one, night vision, integrated night vision mounts, and counterweight pouches. Next up, this has got a bunch of names. The poncho liner, as the Americans would call it. Apologies to my American viewers. The yank blanket, as sometimes it's referred to. The Wooby, or the Ranger blanket. I tend to call it a Ranger blanket. Okay, it's a nice big blanket. It's kind of made out of almost sleeping bag style material. But it's a really versatile bit of kit as well, because you can have this, you know, my dog used to sleep on it any chance he got if it was on the floor. You can have it over covering a table. Sometimes I cover this table up with the Ranger blanket as opposed to the poncho here, the ground sheet. You can have it, I've had it in like hospitals before. I've had it like on my bed. For me, the true game changing thing about it is it's got all these little kind of shoelace style toggles all around the edge. And again, when we deployed to Afghanistan, we was issued a lightweight jungle sleeping bag, which was made by the Americans who invented the Ranger blanket. And if you opened that sleeping bag out and laid it flat, laid this on top of it, it would have a bunch of these little toggles in, you know, the corresponding space. And you would tie your Ranger blanket into your sleeping bag, and hey presto, you had a modular sleeping system. Now, modular sleeping systems nowadays, any good sleeping bag is going to be modular to some extent. But this is back in the day, and even then they were not old, but they've been around for a little bit. So it's got a nice little game-changing feature to it with those shoelace toggles, but a highly versatile bit of kit, pure morale when you're cold. Yeah, Ranger blanket, great bit of kit. Gloves, mechanics gloves to be more specific. So the glove market, a really, really wide market. Mechanics, I used to have more. I thought I had more. It turns out I've only got 3 sets. Normally just go for the kind of the normal just the standard original fit. Okay, there's also one that's called fast fit, which, as you can imagine, fits fairly quickly. These are obviously missing their fingers nowadays, because these I've used for many, many years. But this is the Impact. Okay, so it's more reinforced here on the palm, and it's got a kind of like a rubber protection there on the knuckles. Okay, I don't know what that's for. So that's the Impact, and today I'm using this one here, which is, I think it's just an original one. Yeah, the original. But it's obviously got this funky yellow and black design. Now, why are mechanics gloves game changing? It's a bit of a tough one. I just think they're very, very good. I've got big, like, Edward sausage fingers hands, and I find gloves, you know, I have to buy an XL glove, and with some glove designs, I find that it's got, you know, there's too much material. Yeah, okay, they fit me, but they just don't seem to I was going to say fit like a glove then, but they don't seem to fit well enough for me. Whereas mechanics, I think I'm usually a large. I'm not even an extra large with mechanics. I've ripped all the labels out. That's good. But they just fit my hands really well. I think these can even use touchscreen. I don't know if that's part of the design or just a coincidence, but you can use, you know, touchscreen phones and whatnot with them. Or obviously if you do this, you're going to have no problems whatsoever. But they are just really, really good gloves, and a massive, massive range. You can get pink ones, you can get anti-cut ones for professional, you know, like the police and stuff like that. Massive range of gloves from Mechanics Troops, and they're game changing because I just like them. They're just good. They're just really good gloves. Next up, then we're going to look at the Camelback. So the Camelback section of this video kind of comes in two parts. This is the bladder itself. Okay, so when I first found these, I was probably towards the end of my 6 months training in Catterick in the UK. And again, game changing, because back then we were issued in the webbing with 2 big 1 litre black bottles of water. So you'd have to open your webbing, often on the move, take out the bottle, unscrew it, drink, screw the cap back on, place it back, da-di-da-di-da. Whereas this, okay, placed inside a backpack or just a carrier, like a very lightweight backpack, okay, gives you, I think this is 3 litres of water, essentially hands-free. Like you'll have this, you know, kind of draped over one shoulder, and just, you know, making sure that the valve's open, just drink it, you know, through the straw there. So convenient, it's unbelievable. So the Camelback system itself, which there's a million variations of this made by a million different people now, but is still the best. It's still the best one. It's really thick material, really nicely made. Nowadays, we've got this like little handle here that helps you fill it up on your own, whereas before you might need a little bit of help, or it was a bit tricky. Okay, this is the near mythical Talon. These aren't made anymore for some unknown reason. They were super popular, and at the height of their popularity, Camelback decided to stop making them, which makes these incredibly rare and actually incredibly valuable. There, troops, you have your Camelback bladder placed inside this bit here, okay, and it runs down through your shoulder strap there, and away you go. This one, it's in of itself, the Camelback Talon. Where do I start? My favourite day sack ever. Super versatile. It's got this like, it's a weird design, don't get me wrong. It's got this like kind of weird system here on the front, but this, back in Afghanistan, when you need really awkward shaped bits of equipment, maybe like mouse hole charges for breaching into compounds, metal detectors, even some like shoulder fired rocket systems, you can just find a way, a little bit kind of a little bit improvised, of loosening off these straps here. This is a lot of webbing here, like a lot of strap, and you can have something placed in there that's really awkward, really difficult to carry. But with this system, you'd get away with it. It wouldn't be perfect, but you'd get away with it. Other features, what I love about the Camelback Talon, really wide straps to help distribute the weight, nicely padded, not too much, not too little. And the fact that you can't get them anymore, it's very sad. Run out of space here. It's very sad, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. If any of you see one of these up for sale, just buy it. Don't even think. But I could sell this now for £200-300 easily. But it ain't for sale. Put that down there because I'm running out of room. So next up, troops, are the Peltor Ear Defenders. Now, they actually augment your hearing. They almost act like a kind of hearing aid. You can hear further, you can hear better. But when there is a very, very loud noise like a gunshot, what it does is it doesn't stop you from hearing that gunshot. It just massively reduces it. So what that means is you can wear these, and still hear everything that's going on around you. But when it comes to, you know, gunshots and explosions and whatnot, all of those super loud sounds are reduced down and they don't hurt your ears. Okay. And you don't end up like me, deaf as a post. So these are obviously like real deal, but obviously within the Airsoft and Milsim communities, there's a whole bunch of imitation ones of these, ones that clip onto the back of your helmet. And within Airsoft and Milsim, they have become a little bit of a kind of an aesthetic thing. However, you can also run your communications through them. So you've got the added bonus of all that hearing protection, the hearing augmentation, and then running your comms through them, having like a microphone down here. You press a PTT somewhere, and away you go, you're integrated into your communication. So Peltor Ear Defenders, big game changer for myself. And last but not least are these pack boxes, they're called, from Snugpak, who Snugpak usually are known for making sleeping bags, sleeping systems, warm kit, etc. But these are semi-rigid little boxes to pack things into. That's why they're called pack boxes. But these are game changers, not necessarily for like out in the field, but like for traveling. I don't pack to go on a holiday, go on a trip, go on a milsim, go to another country. I don't pack any other way. So they come in a variety of sizes. So 1 litre is the smallest, 2, 4, 6, and I believe there might even be an 8 or a 10. I'm not sure, but the biggest one I've got is the 6 litre. And I would basically, let's say with the 6 litre, I'd put trousers, jackets, anything big in here. You zip it up and away you go. And things like I use the 4 litre for like t-shirts. So in here I can get quite a few different t-shirts. Also in another 4 litre one I'd probably use like for socks and pants, stuff like that. And then these smaller ones, these I don't use as much, but they can be handy in the field for like little like cables and little things like that you might need just to keep secure. The good thing is, like, once you've used all the clothes in here, you can pack them again with the dirty clothes and they're not going to contaminate each other. So just a bit of a random one to finish off with, troops, but these have changed the way I pack, and I travel quite a lot. I do not pack any other way. I get these usually from UK Tactical as well, so check UK Tactical out. And I think we're pretty much there, troops. That's pretty much all the kit I was going to talk about. Game-changing gear. So we've got integrated helmet mounts, mechanics gloves, morale patches, BLOC Tactical, Camelback, Peltor Ear Defenders, field belts, integrated knee pads with the Cryo Precision, and then to finish off, we've got the Camelback Day Sack, legendary, and the first line belt with things like Kydex and the dump pouch. This here, troops, represents game-changing gear for me, myself. Let me know in the comments what bits of kit you use that are similar to this. Tell me your game-changing kit. Troops, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on the channel.